Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com. The press says that Europe's rivers and lakes have run dry, and this is due to the burning of fossil fuels. This is the current webcam image from Switzerland's Lake Morat. The lake appears to be full up to the brim, and there's lots of people out enjoying the water. But in 1921, during the record heat wave and drought, Lake Morat dried up. Millions of people in Europe, Russia, and Asia faced starvation due to the heat wave and drought. The heat wave and drought of 1921 was associated with one of the largest solar storms on record, which brought the aurora borealis as far south as the Mexico border. 100 years ago, very few people shared the current superstition that the climate is controlled by the burning of fossil fuels. In 1922, scientists recognized that the greatest problem humanity faced was a lack of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Scientists understood that they could greatly increase agricultural productivity by burning fossil fuels and increasing the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Prior to the current state of ignorance in academia and the press, it was well known that Europe has a long history of bad heat waves and droughts. Rivers in Europe dried up in the year 627. They dried up in the year 1000. They dried up in the year 1123. In 1303 and 1304, they also dried up. The crops were burned up in the year 1394, and in the year 1538, the Seine and Loire were as dry land. In 1556, a great drought swept through Europe. In 1614, in France and even in Switzerland, the brooks and the ditches were dried up. Europeans marked the low water levels with inscriptions in river rocks. Many people in the press seem to be aware of these historic droughts, which occurred long before the widespread utilization of fossil fuels. But they still insist, without any evidence, that the current drought is caused by fossil fuels. The press's arguments are completely irrational and lack any scientific or historical basis. And they're doing exactly the same thing in North America, where they insist we're having a mega drought. They say that rivers have run dry in the Southwest and the Great Salt Lake is drying up due to the burning of fossil fuel. But the United States Geologic Survey shows that rivers in the Southwest are running very high, and many are at all-time record highs for the date. The Little Colorado River near the Grand Canyon is running at an all-time high for this day of year. Kanab Creek in southwest Utah is running at an all-time high for this day of year. The Virgin River in northern Arizona is running at an all-time high for this day of year. The Pecos River in eastern New Mexico is running at an all-time high for this day of year. The Dolores River in western Colorado is running at an all-time high for this day of year. The southwestern United States has been having an historically wet summer, and huge amounts of additional rain are forecast over the next 10 days, nearly 6 inches in eastern Arizona. But 22 hours ago, Axios reported that the Southwest is having their worst drought in 1,200 years, and it's making the rivers run dry. And the press is reporting that the Great Salt Lake in Utah is drying up because of the burning of fossil fuels. But it's been known for more than 120 years that the reason the Great Salt Lake is drying up is because the rivers which used to flow into the lake and refill it are now being diverted for irrigation. January 3, 1936, Great Salt Lake is still shrinking. This is largely due to the fact that farms and cities are using more and more of the water from the streams that previously fed the lake. As a matter of fact, Great Salt Lake has been shrinking for many centuries. It was once a great inland sea known as Lake Bonneville, which covered half of Utah. Salt lakes around the world have been drying up for centuries for the same reason. Humans are using the water which used to flow into the lake. In 2017, academics explained this and made it sound like they discovered something new. But it's knowledge that's been known since at least the year 1900. The worst known heat wave and drought in Europe occurred in the year 1540. Little or no rain fell in Europe for 11 months, and it was the hottest year on record there. In 1540, there was so little water flowing in the Seine through Paris that people were able to walk across the river. 1540 is described in contemporary chronicles as the Big Sun Year. The lower part of the Rhine from Cologne into the Netherlands is dry. It didn't rain over Italy with Rome dry for something like 9 months. And the drought of 1540 extended across the Atlantic into North America. The drought of 1540 made the Indian tribes of the Mississippi Valley call on De Soto the explorer to intercede with his god that they might not perish from starvation. The press is engaged in a war on low-cost, reliable energy, so they've made up this nonsensical story that the burning of fossil fuels is causing the same cyclical weather patterns which Europe and North America have always experienced. Toto's been pulling back the curtain on this massive scam for more than 14 years. You can visit him, Kyrie Caesar, Toki and Upala on the web at realclimatescience.com.